It's because you are here to join us. My name is Matt Brown, and I am the host of the Productive Conversations podcast. And this is a productive conversation regarding Week 18 of the NFL season. And as we've been doing it all year long, we will discuss every single game from this past Saturday and Sunday in the world of the NFL, and we will take you home, discuss all the games and complete our journey of talking about every single game of the 2025 NFL season. We have done once this show is done, we have done all 272 games, and this particular week it started off strong and ended on an even stronger note. What a great weekend of football as we head into the playoffs next week. So let's get to it. Let's have some fun and discuss every single game from the from week 18 of the NFL season. And before we have fun, I just want to remind you to like and subscribe to the Productive Conversations podcast on all podcast platforms and YouTube. And don't forget to check out exclusive content regarding the show across all social media platforms right now. Instagram at Productive Conversations Podcast, X at Proud Coffee Pod, TikTok at Proud Coffee Pod, Facebook at Productive Conversations as well. And just a reminder, check us out on Spotify, YouTube, on Spotify, Apple, Amazon. We're all podcasting platforms. We're on all podcasting platforms, and check us out on YouTube as well. All right. So 2026 really started off strong, and we are going to get back into the groove of things. We had a little bit of a hiatus, pretty much been off for 2 weeks doing pods, with the exception of doing football shows, but we're getting back in the groove of things. That includes this Week 18 productive conversation. That also includes a reaction to the college football playoff, the quarterfinals specifically. We did a podcast episode on that, discussing all those games from New Year's Day. That's available on all podcast platforms and YouTube as well. Me and Ryan break all that down and preview the semifinals of the college football playoff. 4 teams to go. We'll see who will be competing for a national championship in a couple of weeks. Then the tweet cap is back, our normal show to discuss trending topics across sports, news, entertainment, and culture. So this Tuesday, January 6th, we will have our first show of 2026 available to all of you as we discuss and recap what was trending over the first weekend of 2026. Then we're back here on Friday to discuss what was trending on the week during the week ahead, and we will take you into the weekend from there. So a busy week, a fun week. We've been resting and adjusting, but now we're ready to make 2026 even better than 2025. So let's start that right here, right now, and discuss all the games from the NFL this past weekend. All right, let's begin with Sunday night's thrilling matchup. The AFC North was decided on Sunday night. The Baltimore Ravens went down to Pittsburgh to compete for a playoff position. It was the Pittsburgh Steelers who came out on top. They win by a score of 26-24, and they are your AFC North champions and will be playing in the postseason. Unfortunately, the Ravens are going home. It was a back and forth game. The Ravens were up 10-0 at one point. Lamar Jackson was absolutely electric in the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, Lamar Jackson was absolutely electric. He connected with Zay Flowers for 2 massive fourth quarter touchdowns that seemed to put Baltimore in the driver's seat. But don't count out Aaron Rodgers. With just 55 seconds left in the game, Rodgers found Calvin Austin III for a 26-yard touchdown to put Pittsburgh ahead 26-24. However, Chris Boswell, who's been efficient all game, he misses the extra point. With only needing to hit a field goal to win the game, Lamar Jackson marched the Ravens back down the field. He converted a clutch 4th and 10 to Isaiah Likely to set up a game-winning field goal attempt. But as time expired, rookie kicker Tyler Loop misses the 44-yard field goal. It goes wide right. The Steelers win 26-24. Pittsburgh clinches the division and a home playoff game, while the Ravens season ends in absolute heartbreak. Pittsburgh clinches the division and a home playoff game, while the Ravens season ends in absolute heartbreak. What a night in Pittsburgh. Their season lives on. Their season lives on. I mean, wow, that was something else. I didn't see that coming. It looks like the holy water worked. And you can't come at Lamar Jackson anymore, big people. You can't. He did everything possible to lead his team to victory. He literally got them right there. And it was the rookie kicker who missed it. And I mean, it happens. It's football. But as I say, time and time again, you can't take the foot out of football. Aaron Rodgers looked lethal out there. This Pittsburgh Steelers defense, for the most part, despite giving up big plays towards the end, looked pretty efficient, especially with the return of TJ Watt. They got the turnovers when they needed. But this game turned out to be a war of attrition, and it was the Steelers who got out on top. Maybe this is a sign for things to change in Baltimore. If it's time for a reset, Jim Harbaugh's been there forever. He won a Super Bowl for Baltimore, but maybe it's time for a change. And who knows what the Ravens will do with Lamar Jackson? Will they trade him? Will they keep him? I'm thinking might as well keep him. He won 2 MVPs, but you know, you just gotta get better receivers. Zay Flowers is hit or miss. DeAndre Hopkins is, not the same player he was. Derrick Henry was able to do so much. He played better towards the end, but he had a subpar year. I think it wouldn't be crazy if you wanted to get a new offense and new personnel within that offense, both in the coaching staff and on the field. But Baltimore just had quite the season. And they were as low as like 4 games under 500 and got to a place where they could kick a game-winning field goal to win the division. That would have capped off an amazing coaching job by Harbaugh, but fate had it that the Steelers were to win that game. But Steelers have quite the momentum. They will be playing on the road. They'll play against Houston on the road, and we'll see what happens there with the future Hall of Famer and Aaron Rodgers versus CJ Stroud, who's had an up and down season himself, especially with injuries. We'll see who winds up being on top, but that's going to be an interesting matchup. And I should have mentioned earlier at the top, but I'll mention it at the end. On Thursday, we are going to do a preview of the wild card round. That will be available to you, where we break down the matchups. They're all available. Your buys are going to Denver in the AFC and Seattle in the NFC. But on Thursday, we will do our preview of the wild card round. So just want to remind you of that. So moving on, though, let's talk about the 49ers and the Seahawks. The number 1 seed in the NFC is on the line. The Seahawks took on the 49ers. The Seattle Seahawks win by a score of 13-3, clinching the NFC West and clinching the number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs. First quarter started with Zach Cherabout. Zach Cherabout had a 21-yard run, 27-yard run. Okay, sorry. Sam Darnold was efficient in this game. He went 20 for 26, had 198 yards, no turnovers. Seattle leaned heavy on the run with 180 rushing yards, led by Kenneth Walker III and Zach Cherabout, who got a touchdown. Seattle won the time of possession. They were able to do that with long, methodical drives and using a run-heavy approach to make sure that clock went down. For the 49ers, Brock Purdy struggled to generate offense. He went 19 for 27, 127 yards, and an interception. San Francisco ultimately finished with 173 total yards, the fewest under Kyle Shanahan in his career. Christian McCaffrey was just held to 23 rushing yards and limited production overall. Christian McCaffrey was held to just 23 rushing yards and wasn't able to make much in this game. Christian McCaffrey was just held to 23 rushing yards, and wasn't able to do much in this game. The Seattle defense was dominant. They held the 49ers to only 9 first downs and was able to contain McCaffrey. And they forced at least one critical turnover in the red zone when McCaffrey dropped a pass that turned into an interception. Despite the 49ers dealing with notable injuries, no Trent Williams and no Ricky Pearsall, Seattle was able to control the line of scrimmage, the clock, and they were able to make the tempo of the game. Despite the 49ers injury issues with no Trent Williams and no Ricky Pearsall, Seattle was able to control the line of scrimmage, control the clock, and was able to dictate the tempo of the game with their running attack. San Francisco's normally explosive offense was settled, and Seattle, with this game, the 49ers weren't able to do a thing on offense, and because of that, Seattle is your number 1 seed. They will get the bye, and they will take on who is ready. And after it's all said and done, the 49ers weren't able to do anything on offense, and Seattle dominated on defense. And the 49ers did nothing on offense. Seattle did nothing. The 49ers did nothing on offense, and Seattle dominated on defense. And it is Seattle who is your number 1 seed in the NFC. The Buccaneers and the Panthers battled it out on Saturday. The Buccaneers won by a score of 16-14 over Carolina. With this win, Tampa was able to keep their playoff hopes alive. With this win, Tampa kept their playoff hopes alive and waited to see if they were going to be the NFC South champions, but ultimately Carolina wins the division based on tiebreakers. It was a close scoring game. Baker Mayfield the first quarter had a touchdown from Baker was able to hit Cade Otton for an 18-yard touchdown in the first quarter. Bryce Young responded in the second quarter with a Tommy Tremble 8-yard run for a touchdown. An 8-yard pass for a touchdown. Baker Mayfield went 16 for 22, 203 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Cade Otton had a team high of only 94 receiving yards, but it was his best during the season. Tampa Bay gashed Carolina on the ground, finishing with 140 rushing yards to Carolina's 19. And Bryce Young threw a touchdown and an interception, but was efficient throughout the game. Rico Dowdle and the running game for Carolina had mixed success, but the Panthers couldn't sustain enough drives. And they just could not get a running game going. It was a rainy game that definitely changed the game plans and definitely led to more running games, but ultimately it was a close game throughout. The Bucs win, but unfortunately it didn't matter because of the next game we're going to discuss. And let's transition to that right now. The Atlanta Falcons took on the New Orleans Saints. The Atlanta Falcons won by a score of 19-17. Atlanta secured the win, but didn't make the playoffs, while New Orleans finished the season at 6-11. The result clinched the NFC South for the Carolina Panthers via tiebreakers, despite all 3 teams finishing 8-9. This game ultimately resulted in the Carolina Panthers clinching the NFC South via tiebreakers, despite all 3 teams in Tampa, Carolina, and Atlanta finishing 8-9. Kirk Cousins had 180 yards. He had 1 touchdown to Drake London. Offensive wasn't explosive, really, and it was field goals by Zane Gonzalez who kept them in it. Tyler Show had 259 passing yards, but threw a costly interception in the red zone that swung momentum into Atlanta's favor. D. Alford's late interception was that key play, and it helped establish the win for Atlanta. This game featured turnovers and special team scoring, and the Saints had offensive pass interference issues, but ultimately the Falcons finished strong with a 4-game winning streak, and the game ends with Raheem Morris getting fired as the Atlanta Falcons coach, and the Saints should have their head up high, even though they end this game with a loss. They ended this season strong. Tyler Show has proven he should be a starting quarterback for the Saints going into next year, and the future is bright for New Orleans and Atlanta in different ways, of course. What is likely the final game in Buffalo? What could very well be the final game in Highmark Stadium in Western New York in Buffalo. The Buffalo Bills hosted the New York Jets at what could be the final game in their home stadium. Buffalo dominated the Jets by a score of 35-8. Buffalo dominated from start to finish. The Jets finished 3-14 after this loss, continuing their playoff drought. That is now 15 straight seasons where they have not made the playoffs. And with this win and the Patriots winning, the Bills clinched the number 6 seed in the AFC playoffs. The Bills scored on most possessions, building a big lead before the half. Mitch Trubisky filled in for Josh Allen. He was efficient, 22 for 29, 259 yards and 4 touchdowns. Ray Davis was the featured back in this game. He had 150 rushing yards and had a receiving touchdown. The Jets continue this god-awful end of the season. Brady Cook came in and was just limited. He was pressured all game long and wasn't able to create any success for him. The Bills just beat on this Jets team that's a true embarrassment. While Aaron Glenn told Aaron Rodgers to hit the road, Aaron Rodgers will be in the playoffs. Aaron Glenn will be known as having one of the worst first seasons, as Aaron Glenn will be known as having one of the worst rookie seasons as a head coach will ever have. Aaron Glenn will be known as somebody who had one of the worst Aaron Glenn will be known as somebody who had one of the worst rookie seasons as a head coach. An absolute disgrace, but the Steelers ultimately the Bills win on a high note, and they will try to make a deep run in the playoffs. The Jets will go home and try to reflect on how much of an embarrassment they've all been this year. Texans took on the Colts. The Texans win by a score of 38-30. Houston clinched the AFC's 5th seed, capping off a 9-game winning streak to close out the season. The Colts finished 8-9. They lose their 7th straight. They somehow went from 8-2 to not making the playoffs at all. Definitely due to injuries, but it was a disaster the way this season ended. This game had multiple lead changes and was high scoring throughout. Texans put points on the board early. The Colts stayed competitive, leading late in the game before Houston reclaimed the lead. Kareem Fairbairn hit a 43-yard field goal with 12 seconds left to take the lead. On the final play of the game, the Colts fumbled a return for a touchdown and sealed the score that way. C.J. Stroud had a solid first half, 169 yards, a touchdown, and a rushing touchdown before being rested for the rest of the game. Fairbairn was very clutch, 6 field goals, a career best for him. Even with the starters out in the second half, the backups were able to preserve the lead. Rookie Riley Leonard was impressive with 270 passing yards, 2 touchdowns in his NFL start. Alec Pierce was a big threat, 132 receiving yards. He had 2 touchdowns himself before being ejected for contact with an official. Colts stayed striking distance but couldn't hold the lead late. And with that, the Houston Texans come out victorious. All right, the next one, we have the Cleveland Browns taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Neither team had any play. The Browns, by the way, win by a score of 20-18. Neither team had any playoff implications, but it's a battle of Ohio. See who can win from there. For the Bengals, Joe Burrow connected with Jamar Chase with a go-ahead 4-yard touchdown with 1:12 left in the game. The Bengals went for 2 but failed, leaving the score 18-17. Rookie kicker Andre Schmitz, after early season struggles, drilled a 49-yard game winner as time expired to give Cleveland the lead. Ultimately, for the Bengals, Joe Burrow threw for 236 yards, had a touchdown to chase, and had touchdowns to chase, but didn't do much from there. Shador Sanders struggled and was struggling sustaining drives. He had limited yardage and a completion rate. He went 11 for 22, only 111 yards, but was able to keep the chains moving and was able to get his team in position to kick a game-winning field goal. In the big game here, Myles Garrett was able to get his record-setting 20-30 sack of the year. That is now a new NFL record for the future Hall of Famer there. Final records, the Browns end up 5-12. The Bengals end up 6-11. We had the Vikings and the Packers take on each other. The Vikings win by a score of 16-3 over Green Bay. Minnesota closed the season with a defensive effort, shutting out Green Bay despite not having their starters. It was all backups. JJ McCarthy started well, and he had 182 passing yards before exiting the game with a hand injury. Justin Jefferson hit the 1,000 receiving yard mark as well. He had 8 catches for 101 yards. Jordan Mason led the Vikings in rushing with 93 rushing yards. No Jordan Love, no Malik Willis. It was Clayton Tune who came in the game. He went 6 for 11 and had 34 passing yards. Green Bay's offense was unable to sustain drives and only had 3 points in this game. Minnesota ends the season strong with this win, but they will not be going to the playoffs. The Packers already got the 7th seed in the NFC, and they will be playing in the playoffs next weekend. All right, we had the Jaguars and the Titans play each other, right? The Jaguars finished the season on a high note. They win by a score of 41-7. Cam Ward scored a rushing touchdown on the opening drive, but then exited the game with a shoulder injury. From there, the Jaguars responded with 31 unanswered points in the first half. Trevor Lawrence continuing to have a great game after great game after great game. He had 3 touchdowns and 255 passing yards, no interceptions. And yeah, the Titans couldn't keep up. They end the season 3-14. They had their injuries. They were inconsistent all year long. And the Jaguars are going to be a team to watch out for. They've been looking great these last 5 weeks. Trevor Lawrence especially has been playing well. Liam Cohn is able to get that team to the playoffs. Very impressive stuff from them. Good for them. All right, next we have the Los Angeles Rams took on the Arizona Cardinals. They win the final game of the regular season by a score of 37-20. With this win, they have clinched the 5th seed in the NFC. They're going to go out to Carolina to take on the Panthers in the wildcard round. The Rams took control in the second half after a close first half, and they just kept building on momentum from there. Matthew Stafford, who I think will be your MVP, he completed 25 of 40 passes, 259 yards, and 4 touchdowns, and finished with a league in 46 passing touchdowns. Incredible. Colby Parkinson, the tight end, had 2 of those touchdowns today. Puka Nacua had a score, 10 receptions and 76 receiving yards. And a returning Tyler Higbee came in the game. He contributed with a 4th quarter touchdown and 91 receiving yards. Good stuff for LA, and I'm sure Arizona's glad for the season to end. The Denver Broncos took on the Los Angeles Chargers. Denver clinched the AFC's number 1 seed with this win, and they will have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Jaquan McMillan returned an interception for 45 yards that led to a touchdown. Will Lutz had 4 field goals, and the Chargers had nothing but 1 field goal in this game. No Justin Herbert. He was sitting to get ready for the playoffs. Trey Lance came in 20 for 44 and had an interception. Didn't have much from there. In what is likely Travis Kelce's final game in the NFL, the Las Vegas Raiders defeat the Kansas City Chiefs by a score of 14-12. Good, and you know what? Good for the Raiders because with this win, they're still going to pick number one. The Raiders end with a 13-14 record. The Chiefs go, sorry, 13-14. The Raiders end their season going 3-14. The Chiefs go 6-11. And it was Daniel Carlson who drilled a 60-yard game-winning field goal with 8 seconds left to break the tie and secure the win. The Raiders recorded 8 sacks, and they had a safety. The game featured no offensive touchdowns at all, and the Chiefs struggled mightily throughout this game. Very, very bad stuff. After Travis Kelce, what could possibly be his final game ever? He had 3 receptions for 12 yards and a fumble. But if this is the end for Kelce in all seriousness, I know he obviously has had quite the PR change, if you will. He's been looked at differently from people, but even before Taylor, Travis Kelce is one of the greatest tight ends to ever play. Simple as that. One of the greatest tight ends to ever play in the NFL. Top 5 in receiving yards, receiving touchdowns, 3 Super Bowls, multiple All Pros, multiple Pro Bowls. Bro is a shoo-in for Canton, and he deserves it. And even with all the PR stuff he's had throughout, and if people don't like his personality or whatever, or don't like his relationship, who cares? At the end of the day, Travis Kelce is a cool dude, stand-up dude. It seems genuine, and he's going to be known as one of the greatest tight ends to ever live. Simple as that. Wherever life takes him, he's got my support. Always been a Kelce fan, and I mean, even though today's game was god awful, let's be real. But if he wanted to come back to give it one more ride because he didn't want to end on that note, I give him credit. Whatever you do, hats off to you, Mr. Kelce. All right, now let's go with the Patriots and the Dolphins. The Patriots win by a score of 38-10. They close their regular season with a 14-3 record. They are now the number 2 seed. They will get a home playoff game. Miami ends their season at 7-10, which I give them a lot of credit because it was looking like a big mess towards the end. But the Patriots end up on top. Rodimore Stevenson led the ground attack, 131 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. Travion Henderson also contributed with 2 rushing touchdowns of his own. Drake May ends his strong season with 4,300 passing yards, 31 touchdowns. He managed the game well, and though I will give it to Matthew Stafford, Drake May for sure has turned himself into a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Just stay healthy, see what he does in the playoffs. It's going to be interesting to see what they do from there. And for the Dolphins, little promise from Quinn Ewers, but their season that has been quite stressful. That ends with a game with multiple turnovers and a team that didn't look like they want to play towards the end. That will complete their season. All right. Oh, well. The Eagles and the Commanders played each other. The Commanders win by a score of 24-17. Washington pulled off the upset against the playoff-bound Eagles squad. Even though the Eagles played mostly backups, Josh Johnson was able to lead the Commanders to victory. The Eagles will be the 3 seed. The Commanders still put up a fight towards the end, and I'm sure they're very happy with that. Going on the road too. Josh Johnson, 131 passing yards. He did have an interception, but did get a touchdown as well, and was able to get a rushing touchdown. Chris Rodriguez, we got good stuff from the running game, like in Chris Rodriguez, the junior. He got a touchdown running in for one. And the Commanders made big plays on defense. It was Tanner McKee who got the start. He did throw a touchdown, but had a hard time sustaining drives. But either way, nice football game. And it was the Commanders who go out on top. We had the Lions take on the Bears. The Lions get the last laugh this season. They win by score 19-16. They are able to sweep the Bears this year, and they end their season 9-8, but they will not be in the playoffs, unfortunately. It's the Bears who will be there instead. They're going to be the number 2 seed, and they're going to take on their division rivals in the Packers. That's going to be a fun one. Jared Goff had a great game, 331 passing yards and a touchdown. Jake Bates had the game-winning field goal as time expired to seal the victory. And Caleb Williams, though, was able to lead a late rally with 2 fourth-quarter touchdown passes. It wasn't enough, unfortunately. But good win for the Bears. Good loss for the Lions, sad loss for the Bears, but ultimately the Bears are in the playoffs, so it doesn't matter. All right, now we have the Giants and the Cowboys. The final game for me to discuss with you in the regular season for 2025. Let's round it out with my favorite football team. My team, who, if they lost, would have been the number 1 overall seat pick. Whatever. I wanted them to win. I understand the frustration, but I am fine with seeing my favorite football team pick what, number 3? Is that it? Let's confirm that really quick on the iPhone. Where are the Giants picking in the draft? The answer is, I think it's 3. It's 5th. Excuse me, 5th overall. The Giants have the 5th overall pick in 2026. I don't want Joe Shane to be picking there. When we're back with each other as an NFL podcast on Thursday, we'll talk about the coaches' firings, the GM firings, and we'll see who's going to make that pick. But regardless, let's focus on the end of 2026 and discuss the Cowboys and Giants. The Giants win by a score of 34-17. They finished strong. They beat the Cowboys, but that's just great. They beat the Cowboys. They were on a 9-game losing streak against the Cowboys. But I mean, it was good to see Coach the owner Mara. You know, he has his battles with cancer, so we pray for him. Hope he's okay. But at least the Giants to give him a win, which is what matters the most if you ask me. Jackson Dart closed out his rookie season with 230 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. They had rookie kicker Ben Sauls, who went 4 for 4 on field goals and was perfect for the short season he had with the Giants. And Tyrone Tracy, he had over 100 rushing yards and a receiving touchdown. And the Giants defense limited Dallas to 286 yards. They forced turnovers and swung the postseason. And they swung their possessions, I should say, swung their season to end on a high note. Dallas had a disappointing season that had ties, injuries, controversy, and all of that. But ultimately, they fall short. They're going to go home and the season's over. And the Giants end on a high note. And I don't care if you're mad that they won. Be happy your team won a game. The 5th overall pick is fine. All right. 272 games complete. I've spoken to you all on every single game of the NFL this year. And I thank you for joining me during this run. I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it. But we're just getting started because we have the playoffs. So we're back here again on Thursday to preview the wild card matchups. We'll discuss all of those. We'll discuss those 5 games. Yeah, 5 games. We'll discuss those 5 games and have some fun with that. Then we're back here. We have sorry, let me just restart. Available right now is the reaction to the college football playoff, the quarterfinal round specifically. Me and Ryan discuss all those games. Then we have that available for you. On Tuesday, we will have our first tweet cap of the year, discussing the trending stories over the past weekend. Thursday, we will have a preview of the wild card round. Those games will start Saturday and then on Sunday. So you and me discussing the wild card round, or previewing the wild card round, I should say. And then back on Friday, we will have our final tweet cap of the week, and we will discuss what is trending. We will discuss what was trending during the week ahead. So we have shows for you on Monday. Monday with college football and the NFL. Tuesday with the tweet cap. Thursday with a preview of the wild card round. Friday with the tweet cap again. So all the love. I had a good time. Now let's get to the postseason. And just very, very quick glance. Extremely quick glance. The 5 games available. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Excuse me. 6 games available. I apologize. There will be 6 games during the wild card weekend. Rams and Panthers. Rams opening as a 10-point favorite. Give me the Rams 10 at -10. Green Bay and the Bears, with Green Bay opening as a slight 1.5-point favorite. Give me the Bears plus 1.5. Bills and Jaguars. Buffalo opening as a slight 1.5-point favorite. Give me Jacksonville plus 1.5. 49ers and Eagles. Philly opening as a slight 3.5-point favorite. Give me the 49ers plus 3.5. The Chargers and the Patriots opening as a 3.5-point favorite. Give me the Patriots minus 3.5. And the Monday Night Football playoff game, the Texans and Steelers. Houston opening as a 3-point favorite. I will take the points with Houston. All right. So quick glance there. I will see you all throughout the week. Good to be back. Let's have a great first week. Let's have a great first full week together. All the love. See you soon. And job well done. It was a great season. It was a great regular season. Now let's go to the postseason.